Jai Mahamaya ki jai, Bole Baba ki jai. In our last discourse, we learned more about the yagya and the different types of it. Specifically, we're speaking a lot about the Manasa yagya. And now we're turning to chapter 13, and we'll be learning about Vishnu's yagya to the Divine Mother. King Janamejaya spoke, "O grandfather, how did Vishnu, the powerful, the cause of the world, perform the Devi Yagya? Whose help did he receive, and what priest with their knowledge of the Vedas did he engage? Kindly tell me all these things in special detail. I will very attentively hear all about this Devi Yagya performed by Vishnu, and then I will make arrangement to do that myself accordingly." Vyasa said, "O noble one, hear in detail the very wonderful thing, how Vishnu celebrated the Devi Yagya, conforming to the rules laid down by the Sastras. When Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva were each given power by the Devi, the goddess of the universe, and when they parted, these three devas became free of their womanhood while they were coming back in their aerial cars and turned out back into men, as they were before. These three devas found the great ocean before them. They brought out world from it and built in that world dwelling abodes, and they themselves began to live in some of them. That world became fixed, steady, and the supporter of all things, when the goddess imparted the power to fixture, steadiness, and the power of supporting to the world. The earth then became fixed and the great supporter of her power. O king, the name of this earth is Medini, since it was made out of the marrow of the two demons, Madhu and Kataba. This earth is termed Dara because it supports all. It's termed Mahi because it is great, since it supports so many beings. O king, the Ananta serpent is holding it on her 1,000 hoods. To make the earth remain solid and compact, Brahma built it at places mountains. Like an iron nails in a log of wood, so these hills and mountains within this earth made it fixed. Therefore the pundits call these mountains Mahadara, holder of the earth. O king, thus the golden Meru, the great mountain, many yojanas wide, adorned with many golden mountain peaks, was created. Next, Maraki, Narada, Atri, Pulasta, Pulaha, Kratu, Daksha, and Vasistha were created by Brahma. These are the Brahma's mental sons. They were sons created by the sheer power of his mind. The son Kasapa was born to Maraki, and 13 daughters were born of Daksha. From these daughters and out of the seed of Kasapa, various devas and demons were born. Then human beings, animals, serpents, and many other classes of beings were created. This is called the Kasapa creation. Next, Vayambhuva Manu sprang from the lower half of Brahma, and the daughter named Satarupa came out of the left-hand side of Brahma's body. The two sons, Priyavrata and Uttanapada, were born of Manu in the womb of Satrupa, and the three daughters, very beautiful and fair complexioned, were born also of him. Creating then the lotus-born Brahma built the beautiful Brahma Loka on the top of Meru mountain. Then Vishnu built Vaikuntha, city on the top of all the lokas of the world, to dwell with his consort Mahalakshmi. Shiva too built the exceedingly beautiful Kailash and stayed there with his booties and played with them at his will. The third Loka, termed heaven, was built on top of Meru, decorated with various precious gems and jewels and stones. It was fixed as the abode of Lord Indra. When the great ocean was churned, Parichata, the best of all the trees, the elephant with the 4 tusks, the heavenly cow yielding the milk of all desires, the sacred horse, and Apsaras, Ramba, and others arose and were taken by Indra. These became the ornaments of heaven. The moon and Dronvantari, the great physician, also came out of the churning of the ocean. These, surrounded with many other members, began to shine, being situated above in the heavens. O king, thus the 3 varieties, human beings, devas, and birds, and their sub-varieties sprang up. Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva began to play and walk about at their leisure in their respective spheres after they finished all the creation. Thus the wheel of creation being started, the great god Vishnu remained in sport with his beautiful consort Mahalakshmi in his own sphere, Vaikuntha. Then Bhagavan Vishnu, while sitting one day in Vaikuntha, got in his mind the memory of that beautiful island called Manidvipa, adorned with precious stones, gems, and jewels. O queen, in this Manidvipa, Vishnu got the vision of the Mahamaya and the auspicious mantra. He now thought to celebrate a yagna in honor of the Devi when he recollected the highest energy, the goddess, great goddess. He then went out of his abode and invited Brahma, Shiva, Kubera, Indra, Varuna, Fire, Yama, Vashista, Kasyapa, Daksha, Vamadeva, Brihaspati, and others, and began to collect lots of materials necessary for the Devi sacrifice, selecting a site very sattvic, beautiful, and possessing great spiritual powers. Vishnu erected, with the help of great artists and engineers, a wide, gracious sacrificial hall, and appointed 27 priests who pledged a solemn vow to complete it duly. When the big altar and pile of wood for the burning were finished, the Brahmanas began to recite slowly the Devi mantras with their root mantras. Then the profuse quantities of ghee were offered as oblations to the sacred fire. Thus, when the homa, offering oblations of ghee to the fire, ceremony was finished elaborately and conforming to the rules of the sastras, the sweet and melodious heavenly voice was heard in the air addressing Vishnu thus, O Vishnu, let you be the supreme amongst the gods. Honor and worship shall be thine verse, and you would be the most powerful of the devas. Indra, together with Brahma and the other devas, will all worship you. O infallible one, those men on the earth that will be devoted to you will certainly be endowed with power, and you shall be the bestower of boons and all their desires, O Vishnu. You will be the supreme of the devas, and you will be the god of the gods. You will be first and foremost in the sacrifices, and you will be worshipped by the sacrificers. People will worship you, and you will favor them with boons, O best of Purusas. Then, when the devas will be troubled by demons, they will come and take refuge in thee. You will be the protector of all. There is no doubt in this. In all the Puranas and all the vast Vedas, you will be first worshipped. Whenever there will be decay and decline in religion, you will incarnate in your parts and will preserve the religion. Avatars renowned in all the worlds will come down on earth as your parts in creation and in all sorts of wombs in due order, and will be respected by all the high-souled personages. Those avatars will be the best of all and will be famous in the lokas, the worlds. In all your avatars, you will get your attendants, and you'll also receive your female Shakti, drawing upon her energy from my parts, and they will serve all your purposes. Vahadi, Nirashima, etc., and various other Shaktis of auspicious appearance, endowed with various weapons and decked with all the ornaments, will serve as your companions, no doubt in this. O Vishnu, always with their help and under the influence of my favor, you will no doubt be quite competent to serve the purposes of the Devas. You should respect and worship all those Shaktis by all means and with very great attention. Never show the slightest trace of pride to them. Never do you thus insult them. These Shaktis, capable of bestowing all the desires, will be worshipped as images of clay in the whole of India. O Deva of Devas, the fame of all these Shaktis as well as you will be spread in the 7 worlds and in the whole universe. The human beings on this earth will constantly worship with selfish ends these powers of yours for the fructification of their desires. Having various desires, men will, in your worship, present various offerings, recite the Veda mantras, and repeat the names of you and the powers. O Vishnu, you will be the gods of the immortals, and your glory will be enhanced by the worship offered by the human beings in the world as well as in the heavens. Vyasa said, O king, the heavenly voice, thus bestowing boons on Vishnu, ceased. Vishnu Bhagavan became very glad to hear this. Vishnu, the gods of gods, completed the sacrifice and dismissed the Devas and the Munis and all the sons of Brahma. Then ascending on Garuda, he went up to Vaikuntha with his followers. The Devas also went to their own respective places. The Munis also retired gladly to their own hermitages, all thunderstruck to see these things, conversing with each other about this sacrifice. O king, all were filled with best devotion towards the Supreme Force on hearing this clear, beautiful, sonorous, heavenly voice. Then the Munis and the Munindras began to worship with devotion according to the Vedas, that highest force, the Supreme Goddess, giving all desired objects profusely in all the detail. Here ends the 13th chapter on the Devi Yagna by Sri Vishnu in the 3rd book in the Srimad Devi Bhagavatam, the Mahapurana by Maharishi Deva Vyasa. Bole Baba Ki Jai, Jai Mahamaya Ki Jai, Bole Baba Ki Jai.